Okay, guys, I'm really happy to go through this session, especially because I do understand that you guys have, or at least Carter, I saw your picture of, is it El Capitan?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was,
well,
we took a trip to Yosemite, and it was a beautiful sunny day, and we were just in the river that runs through the valley there, and the light was hitting El Cap, what I thought just to be just right, but I really want to make this picture special because it was one of our best memories from the weekend. So
yeah, well, thanks for sending it to me within this group chat. So I had a brief look at it, and I do have some suggestions. And yeah, so Carter, I'd love to go through your picture, and then we can move on to Billy's pictures if you want, or whatever. But let's start out with you, Carter. So let's pull up your image, and if you could share your screen, we'll work on Lightroom CC because I got some great tips for you.
awesome. Let me pull it into Lightroom here.
Mm-hmm. It's a beauty.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay, so what we're going to do, first of all, I'm just going to take a look at your screen a bit fuller here on my side. We're going to do a really super basic edit first, and that's very simple. Now, when I see this picture, I do feel that the picture is leaning a little bit to the left, and I know that because whenever we see water, especially it's fairly easy with oceans or large lakes, water does not flow left or right. It's always dead even. So I'd like you to go to crop, and we're just going to even up the picture a bit by rotating, I would say about 1 degree clockwise. So you can do that very simply by putting your finger on that little rotate. Okay, stop. Let's go a little bit more than 1.05. Just a touch more. Keep going. Yeah, there you go. Okay, that's great. Let go. And then at the very bottom, you're going to see a check mark. I'd like you to tap the check mark. It's at the bottom right. And what that does, and you'll notice this always accepts the edit that you just did. Okay? Does that make sense?
Sure.
Okay, guys, even though Carter is working on his photo right now, if you guys have any questions, please chime in. I'm totally happy, and I really want you guys to ask questions while I'm working with Carter's picture. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Perfect. Sounds good.
Okay, great. Okay, so what I see, first of all, is your sky is exposed perfectly, and also the sun. By the way, what were you using, an iPhone for this shot?
Yep.
It's a great picture because the sun is not radically blown out and you have a really good exposure. The only problem is that we have a little bit too much of we call it a black hole with regards to the trees and a little bit of the water. That simply means that it's just too dark for us to really enjoy. Now, I'm going to give you a super quick, easy fix, but we're not going to rely on automatic mode because I have something even better for you after. However, what we're going to do first is go to the wonderful auto tool. Now, this is for when you don't have any time, you want a super quick solution. Okay? Now, do you see what happened when you pressed auto?
Yeah.
Tell me what happened.
Everything got brighter that was dark.
Essentially, nothing changed in the sky and very little changed in El Capitan, but the shadow areas really popped out, which gives us more detail. Does this make sense?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so this already makes the picture look a little bit better. However, I don't want you guys to always rely on auto. This is a really great way, though, to get a picture out there if you need to send to social media super quick. So what I'd like you to do is click auto off. We're going to go back. Okay, perfect. Now, what we're going to do is something extremely fun and very useful. It's something called selective adjustments. So I'd like you to go all the way to the left. There's a little circle and the word selective. Now, at this point, you have the option at the very top to press the plus button, which I'd like you to do. And there's 3 different options here. I'm just going to run through each one. I don't want you to press anything yet. The first one is a brush. The second one is a circle called radial gradient. And the third one is called a normal gradient or a linear gradient. Okay? So what I'd like you to do is go to the, let's go to the brush tool first. That's really, really useful. So go to the brush. And at this point, we're going to decide what brush size we want. So yeah, to the very first little option, and then with your finger you can flip up and down. Now with regards to the size, I would say on your picture, by the way, this is going to be different per picture, but I would say go up to 25. And this is simply adjusting the size of the brush. By the way, everyone else, do you guys understand what's going on so far? Any questions? If I go too fast, just let me know.
Nope. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
How did you decide to use the brush instead of one of the other gradients?
I'm really glad you asked. Whenever we have a certain area that is only circular, or what would you say, like an oval, we are going to use the second tool, which is called the radial. And whenever we have a situation where it's a straight line, like for example, you have an ocean and a sky, you want to adjust that straight line, you would use the linear. Exactly. But because we have a very irregular area that we want to adjust, which is the trees and the water, I suggest the brush is probably the better option for us.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is, that's good. And we always like to start out with full feather. So the second little circle below that one is feather 100%. That's really good. Or if you scroll down, you're going to get a hard edge. We don't want the hard edge. The hard edge is good for other applications, but rarely really good for this type of landscape. So what I'd like you to do now is start painting on the area that's too dark. So that would be a little bit of the trees, a little bit of the water, and let's just start painting. And when you paint, you're going to see that everything is turning red. Now, have you guys ever heard of the term mask, M-A-S-K?
I have, yeah.
So a mask is simply an area that you are going to adjust. Okay, that's why when we paint red on, we know exactly what will be adjusted and what won't be adjusted. Okay, so I'd also like you to add a little bit on the bottom right where it's the water is just a little dark. Yeah, looking good. Perfect. Okay, and by the way, if you feel that you made a mistake and you sort of went beyond the lines of whatever you're doing, don't worry, because we can actually go to the eraser tool. And I see you have the eraser tool up already. Yep, so that's good. You're erasing the red mask. Excellent. Okay.
How's that?
Yeah, I think, and that's great. And by the way, even afterward, when we do our adjustment, we can still do some erasing if we need to. Awesome. So what I'd like you to do, I'm going to ask you a question. What do we need to do with these trees and this little bit of water?
Well,
Bring up the brightness a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, the auto tool brought the shadows up, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So we're under light, and you already have it there. I'd like you to read off all the options we have from the top.
So we got exposure, contrast, highlights, shadows, whites, and blacks.
Okay, out of those 5 or 6, what do you think is the most logical place for us to start?
Well, I think you gave me a hint. With the shadow tool might be
Exactly.
a good place. Okay.
Exactly. So let's try some shadows. And always to the right is brighter, and to the left is darker. So let's give that a try. Okay, so what are you seeing here?
When I go all the way to the right, it brightens it right up, and the green comes out. That's crazy. And when I go to the left, it obviously gets darker.
Yeah. So just for fun, I want you to go to 100%. Now, in reality, we'd probably back off to 80, but for this lesson, I want to really show you guys the amazing power of selective adjustments. Okay, now this is good, but we can make it even better. Now, whenever we're in shadow areas, do you know what color tone cameras almost always produce on a shadow area of a photo? It's unfortunately a bluish cold cast or cold color. So in order to really sort of counteract that, we use the opposite of blue, which happens to be yellow. So we're going to go on to the next tool here, which is in color. And as you can see, the very first one is temperature. And I like you, just for fun, to go to the blue side and then go to the yellow side. Now, what happened?
Yeah, it really changed the color of the where we had selected.
Exactly. So whenever we're dealing with foliage like green, we want to go to the, whenever we have foliage in shadow, we want to warm up the picture. So I'm going to get you go to plus 25. Let's go to up a little bit more. And as you can see at the very top, we actually know the temperature is plus 25. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Now, we have one more trick, and I love this. In the color section, we have something called tint. Now, tint is really interesting, especially for foliage, because it's on the green and magenta spectrum. And the nice thing is we can actually make the green foliage as green as we want. So what I want you to do, I'm not going to tell you what to go to with regards to tint. I want you to decide, okay, Carter?
Sure. Billy, Kevin, what do you guys think? I'd say maybe right about here, 30?
Yeah, I think that looks good. It looks very realistic.
Yeah, that's awesome. You can really see the trees now.
Now, the reason we're doing this... I don't think so. The reason we're doing this is we want to balance the amount of green on that tree to the green on the other trees. And I think it looks pretty balanced.
Great.
One other thing that's really cool is, did you notice that the water actually followed along because that was part of the mask? Now, normally you could say, well, I don't want that because water's supposed to be blue. That's not true. Water is blue when it's reflected by the sky. But you guys, especially in this picture, I think it's very appropriate because the water is reflecting the green from the trees. So you're all set.
Right.
Yeah.
So should I just hit the check?
Yeah, so whenever you're ready to go, you select the check mark at the bottom right, and there's your image. Now,
Awesome.
Just for fun, before we finish this little trial lesson, I want you to go to do what's called a global adjustment. Have you guys ever heard of the term global adjustment?
Yeah. I think
It's
just
exactly
to change everything at once, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to something selective.
It's exactly opposite to what we've been doing. So to do a global adjustment on this, we're just going to increase the vibrancy. So I'd like you to go to color, which is at the bottom right. Yep. Scroll down. Now, vibrancy and saturation are really good, and I usually try to go with vibrance first, and obviously you can overdo it. So what I'm thinking is, let's just try plus 25. We'll see where that takes us.
So what does vibrancy do?
I'm glad you asked. So normally I remember all the way back to the beginning of Photoshop, saturation was the key in order to bring up a really a vibrant picture. But vibrancy is really helpful for not making the picture not look fake. And also, by the way, if your picture has a person in it, don't do saturation, do vibrancy. Because I find that vibrancy tends to protect skin tones while making all the other colors more bright and more vibrant. Not bright, but definitely more vibrant. So that looks good. So your blues are a little bit more blue. Your greens are a little bit more green. What I'd like you to do is tap once and hold onto that picture so we can see the before. Okay, but here's the before and let go. Here's the after. So I think that within a few minutes, we could do a lot more in this picture, but that's a brilliant shot. Okay, guys, so even though Carter's actually doing the work here, I want you guys to tell Carter how he should crop this picture, just so that it's a little bit more dynamic. And obviously, crop is at the very bottom. It's a really well-used tool, so yeah. So how should Carter crop this, and why? What do you guys think?
Well, I think maybe you could draw some attention to kind of the point of El Cap there. So maybe have that kind of in the top quadrant or something along those lines.
Okay. And we're on free. That's good. By the way, just before you get to that, I just would like to explain. Go to that little icon that looks like a lock and press it, which is at the bottom. Definitely make sure that this is unlocked. And the reason being is you want the ability to make a free selection based on your desires, okay? So unlock. Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
Got it.
Okay, so let's follow that suggestion and see what we can do. Now, in my mind, we have a little bit too much sky. I really want to focus our attention on El Capitan. So where should Carter stop? And by the way, this is purely subjective.
I think you'd probably go a little bit back up.
Yep, I like it.
Yeah, somewhere around there, I think.
Sure.
Right there, perhaps right in the corner.
I like that. That looks great.
Yeah.
So what do we do to accept that crop?
Just hit the check.
Exactly. Let's do it. Okay, now let's just, one more time, let's just take a look at the before, and you just do that by tapping anywhere on the screen. Okay, there's the before, and let go, and here's the after. So, you know, we could actually continue doing a lot more to this picture, especially with really cool things like contrast and clarity, but you know, I think that you did an awesome job for this this tutorial. I think we're ready to roll.
Awesome. We appreciate you, Mark.
Yeah, any final questions that you guys have on this?
Not for me.
Not.
I think, I'm excited to play around a bit with the clarity and the contrast as you suggested, but that was a great start. I would have never thought to crop it like that. And interesting to hear about the water adjustment. That was with the straightening. I wouldn't have known to do that either, but it definitely made a great difference.
Excellent. Yeah, in closing, whenever you have a situation where you have a lot more sky, like you did in that, just ask yourself, what is the primary subject in this picture? And in this shot, it's very clear. El Capitan is the primary subject. That's the most important part, even though it's further behind the water and the trees. So in order to really pop out El Capitan, we want to just reduce a little bit of that sort of useless space, which was the sky, to focus our attention on the mountain.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, guys.
That was awesome.
Well, you did great. Carter, good work. And, of course, Billy and Kevin for chiming in to help Carter with some of the picture.
No problem.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Carter, send me that picture.
I will for sure.
Okay, happy photography. Talk soon, guys.
Thanks,
Great.
Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Bye.
Bye.